Hey folks, welcome back to the Murray Homestead, and today I'm going to show you all a really quick and easy way to sharpen your knife. Alrighty, so sharpening a knife is a shockingly simple and complicated task, depending on who you ask. Um, there are many ways, from whetstones to grinding wheels, belt sanders. I mean, the it goes on and on and on and on. Um, to me, the most simple and easy way I have found for years and years and years that's economical, uh, does not take forever. I get consistent results and I get a very sharp blade. Is this Lansky knife sharpening system? I'll show you how it works. But I've sharpened dozens of knives, hundreds of times with this system. It works crazy well. It's very easy. Whetstones work awesome, but it's a skill set. You got to practice. It takes time. You need to be able to concentrate, and depending on what stones you get, it can actually be shockingly expensive. um, I have something on my wish list called the Wicked Edge Sharpener, which is just a really fancy version of this, but it can cost $1,000. So all that being said, this is the Lansky knife sharpening system. I'll show you how it works. It is crazy simple, and it's less than 50 bucks. So first things first, this is my Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. I'm going to do a separate review on this blade later. It is a fantastic blade. It's a little bit pricey, but it's under $100, so it's not too bad. The first things first, I'll show y'all how dull I've let this poor blade get. Okay, so y'all can see where it is like baseline, and obviously if I try to shave with it, nothing. I can actually kind of run my hand across the edge a little bit. But as y'all can see, I don't know if my wife's going to be able to focus in there, the blade itself is just filthy. And if you open a lot of boxes, like I do, that adhesive just absolutely gums up the blade. And that can actually be a contributing factor as to why your blade's dull. It's just because it's dirty. Um, so one, to fix that issue, and then two, we do not want to gum up our stones. All you got to do is get some rubbing alcohol. Did my wife take my napkin? I believe she did. All right, so in between sharpenings, if you just get some rubbing alcohol, I've got 70 in here with me. The 91% is better. But it works really well to get all that adhesive off. And just clean that blade very nicely. All right, but just like that, you can see the blade looks significantly better. It's not rocket surgery. You're just taking up all that gum off the blade. Now to the main part of the video is actually sharpening the blade. So this is the Lansky Deluxe knife sharpening system. And all it's doing is giving you this jig, okay? So you can lock your blade in there. You lock your blade in, and you want to put it not really in the center, but maybe just to the rear of the blade a little bit. You'll tighten that first set screw. And you don't want to go crazy tightening it. You don't need to. Let's get it lined up, get it nice and snug. And then this rear screw here is going to apply a lot of leverage and really lock that blade in there. So you get that nice and snug, nothing crazy. And just make sure your blade's locked in there. Good to go. This system comes with both Phillips head screws and a little thumb screw. That's usually where this one goes. I highly recommend putting this back in the case, putting the thumb screw in there, and using a Phillips screwdriver, because you can really get a shocking amount of tension on that blade with it. So the whole point of the system is, I'll start with a medium stone because I already know where I'm at. You're going to take one of these guide rods here. You're to set your stone on it. Tighten this little wing nut. It doesn't need to be super tight, but you don't want it to move around. Make sure you got it pretty flat. Good enough. So like I was saying, the main point of this whole system, and if you've done any research into sharpening knives, the whole point is you want to remove a little bit from this side of the cutting edge, and then the same amount on this edge. You need to do that again and again and again and again. Equal amounts, and eventually you're going to end up with a perfect point. And that is the long and short of how you make anything sharp. And however you want to do it, that's how you, whatever method you prefer. What's so cool about this system is this guide rod sits in this hole here, and it holds that angle for you. So it's going to make sure when you're removing material on this side, in this case at 20 degrees, when I flip it, put it in the slot, then I'm also going to be removing the same amount of material at the same angle, 20 degrees, on this side. And you're just going to go, a few strokes here, a few strokes here, a few strokes here. And you're going to end up with that perfect angle that if you're trying to use a whetstone, it can be a dang nightmare. It's definitely a skill set. You want to go back like to your grandpa or whatever, he'll give you a cheap whetstone and let you play with it for months because it's kind of hard. It's not impossible, but it's kind of hard. This is something you can do watching a movie, whatever. They just make it easy, and it's all because you're getting a consistent angle of grind. All right. So when you are doing this, they include oil. Oddly enough, in the instructions from Lansky, they say you do not need oil, which is another really cool part about this. When you're sharpening your blade this way, you might get a little bit of the grit from the ceramic abrasive on these stones. You'll get like a little bit of grit, but you don't need water. You don't need oil. It's not going to make a great big mess. So again, you can sit on your couch and do this while you're watching a show or whatever. All right. So what's nice about this kit too is it comes with 5 rods for each stone, or for each individual stone. So each stone has its own rod. So if you have a workbench or something where you can have these set off to the side, you can just have them set like they are right there and keep this jig on your workbench, and you don't have to mess with it. It is light enough where you can take this on a hunting trip. It comes with a pretty nice case. What I usually do is I put a piece of Gorilla Tape just around this to make sure it stays closed. But I've gone on several day hunting trips with this kit, and I haven't had any issues with parts falling out or anything. All right, so first things first, you're going to want to determine the angle of your blade. If you do not know the angle of your blade, you're walking backwards uphill. So an easy way to do that is to take just a general permanent marker, and you're just going to trace your blade angle just on one side, just like that. If you just so happen to be a machinist and you've got some blue on you, it's the exact same concept. I know this blade I've set at 25 degrees, so if I just go to grind off just that little section, you can see in just a few strokes, the black goes away. And as an easy way to help you remember, this is not necessary at all. But I purchased a little Dremel engraver. And so with my knife, I'll just write on the blade anywhere, 25. And then if, you can also use it for many other things. I usually put a signature on my blades, stuff like that. So we'll start. In this case, like I said, a medium stone because I've already got a good edge on this. I just need to touch it up. What is so cool about this system is it's not like a song and dance and this beautiful rhythm and this art form or anything like that. All right, I'm gonna move this table out the way a little bit, and I'll show you. You want to count your strokes, but you can literally just go like this. You do not. It does not have to be perfection. What I do is I usually count, especially when I'm cleaning up a blade like this, is I'll count in my head, um, 3 or 4 seconds at a time, and then I'll stop and flip it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you want to try to get across the whole blade while you're doing that, the whole edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks like I'm doing something silly. I promise I'm not. It works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll go back and forth a few times with this medium stone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see some of those burrs are already coming out, and you can see where I have them left. So I'll get this cleaned up with a medium, and then I'll show y'all when I go up to the next grid. All right, so I've done that really quick back and forth motion. I don't even know how long it's been, for like 1 minute, maybe, off of camera. And it legitimately already has a nice little grabby edge. It's still rough, but we're getting a good edge. So using the same stone, in this case a medium, now I'm going to count how many strokes I do on each side. I'll get a little bit more accurate now that I've got this thing, just busted out. And again, it takes about 1 minute. All right, so now on this one, I will go from the back to the front, and I'll try to get a nice little stroke in there on each one. And so I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll flip it. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll just go back and forth like that, however many times I feel I need to. But the whole point is you just want to get the same amount on each side. And with these stones, because they're actual abrasive stones, you can feel the friction. So you'll be able to know once you're going, doing the 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll be able to feel the resistance of the stone over the metal. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and you can actually hear it as well. 3, 4. But you'll be able to hear that the stone itself is fighting the metal less, basically, because it's already got what it wants to take off. If that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is already a fairly sharp edge. Yep, you can already see it'll already start to pop some hairs a little bit, and that's with a medium stone. And if I wasn't recording, that literally would have been about 1 minute with one stone. And this knife is ready to go do work if you needed to. I will go ahead now and move up to the fine stone. Just so y'all know, the medium on this one is a 280, and the fine is a 600. The whole kit comes with the extra coarse at 70 grit, and this is going to be for when you're going to set the profile of whatever blade angle you want. You really just have to do what I was doing at the beginning, just pound through it, and then hopefully you should never need this one again. Same thing here with the coarse, and that's a 120. Again, hopefully you don't ever need this one again. But like I said, the medium is what I start with when, especially if I let my blade get a little bit dull. That's 280. I'm about to move to a 600, and then this stone also has a 1000 grit ultra fine, and this is actual ceramic. And you'll see how pretty it gets the blade. So now I'll go back on my 25 degree. And with this one, because I've already got a good edge, I'm just honing this edge. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll go down just to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and using that same paper towel I used earlier to clean it with a little bit of alcohol. You see, you get just a little bit of the metal off of there. But that is already quite sharp. And you can see the edge is fairly even. If you're watching in super duper 4K Ultra HD, you can see I do have a tiny nick in that blade right there in the center. It's a very small nick, and that's why it's good to hang on to these coarse and extra coarse, because you can grind that out. For what I do with this blade, I have no interest in grinding that edge out, or that little nick out. It's not important to me. So you can see after the fine, we're getting a little bit more hair popping. All right, now I'll move to my last stone. I'll use this 1000 grit. And honestly, at this point, this knife is quite sharp and it is ready to, do whatever you need it to do. But I like to use this stone here, the 1000 grit fine, or extra fine, excuse me, ultra fine. Because it makes that blade, it literally polishes it, to a shine. So again, just like I do with other stones, and just so y'all know, I'm barely putting any pressure whatsoever. For these first couple passes, I'll barely push down. But as the stone has done its job and I get to the end of this last step, I will gently, or I will little by little have it so that it's literally just the weight of the stone on the blade. So just like I do with the other stones, I'll just run this across a few times like that, and you can see with one pass, the edge already start to pop. So I'll just run it across a few times like that. Not rocket surgery. All right, so after I just went through that initial, just hogging it out type pass, this is not required. It's not in the instructions actually. But that same towel that has a little bit of alcohol on it, if you just want to wipe the edge of your blade and the stone, and then now we'll start doing the precise part again. So I'll do about 7 strokes per side of the blade with next to no pressure. And the 7 is an arbitrary number. I'll show you why I did 7, but for me, for the length of stroke I can get, or stroke I can get for the size of this blade, 7 just is a good number. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll just do the same thing on each side, probably like 10 times. Alrighty, so I went over it with that ultra fine stone. I don't even know. Let's call it a full 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes at most. So now, if you can see, it has polished that edge nice and glossy sharp. And I'm well aware this is not a perfect profile. But if you can see, that is a fairly even uh, edge on that blade. Fairly even, highly polished. And I'll show you, highly sharp. So I'll loosen that back one first. And then the front one. Put that away. And you can see now, significantly sharper blade. Significantly sharper blade, and I kid you not, it takes less than 5 minutes. If I wasn't on camera and I was just, I had a podcast on or was watching a show or whatever, you literally get a razor popping sharp knife in less than 5 minutes. And y'all saw how dull it was when I started. For less than $50, and this works on every damn knife you have. So please don't spend $1,000 on a knife sharpener unless you have a business. And honestly, those abrasive work sharps and stuff like that, although they work well, and you can even kind of get like a Scandi edge on there if you don't, if you know, you know. But they create heat, and heat will mess up the temper and mess up the edge of your blade. They can take off too much material, and if you've seen knives in the past that kind of got a belly here, it's because they're using an extremely aggressive method to sharpen a blade. That's just not necessary, in my opinion. I've sharpened a bunch of knives many times for many years. And my original one of these was from Bass Pro Shops, and I think it was like $27 at the time. So that tells you how long I've had one of these. As far as how long the stones last, I've lost the entire system before I had the stones actually fail. I've had this one for a few years now. I would say this would last at least a decade for like general household kitchen knife, pocket knife use. I don't have any data for that, but just like a lighter or unfortunately a pocket knife, a lot of times you'll lose it before it's wore out. So that's how you sharpen a knife. Quick, easy. There's many other videos on it. Please just take my word for it. I've tried so many things to watch so many videos, and this works very well. So thank y'all for stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the stupid bell because we have a bunch of other videos coming out. And thank you for stopping by.